After Louis XIV's death in 1715, the art community shifted from the Classicism era into a period called Rococo. This was in accordance with the lack of support from the aristocratic party to the Palace of Versailles. As we know, the aristocratic party was extremely wealthy, and though they made up very little of the population, they enjoyed 90% of the wealth in France. On top of this gross wealth, aristocrats had much political power and embodied a culture of luxury and leisure. With this idea of leisure and living lavishly also came the stigma of living selfishly. The behaviors of aristocrats move away from the common man's belief of morality and conservatism. As exemplified in the well-known work of Fragonard's The Swing, painted is a woman on a swing being pushed by an older man and a man watching from the bushes in front of her. The scene is set in a lush and overgrown garden filled with pastels and airy brushstrokes. In the background, sculptures of cupids hugging another angel with his finger to his mouth as if to say hush to the viewer. The story behind the presentation is about a man watching his mistress in the air on the swing while her legs fly every which way so he can peek under her dress. The hushed angel represents the adultery of their relationship, as she's said to be his mistress. This is where the controversy of Rococo came from, the lack of morality represented in the art. Not only did opposers of Rococo find ethics of sensual art form condemnable, but the value of the art itself. In The Swing, the brushstrokes are visible, which was determined as unrealistic and lacks fundamentals of art. To combat the creation of Rococo, the neoclassicism movement began. Neoclassical artists such as Jacques-Louis David preferred non-sensual art with a clear shading and coloring for more realistic looks, along with no evidence of brushstrokes, as they believed art was meant to be as realistic as possible. Neoclassical paintings were often historical references, such as The Oath of Horatii by Jacques-Louis David. David created this painting during the brink of the First Revolution in 1789 and wanted to emphasize the clear-headedness and self-sacrifice to the state and support of the rebels of the Revolution. In The Oath of Horatii, shown is the Horatii brothers saluting their father, holding multiple swords in clenched fists, and raising his right hand, signifying a promise or sacrifice. David focuses on geometric dynamics, linear angles, and shading. The men in the painting have rigid poses, representing their dominant presence and importance, while the women in the back have flowy positions, signifying weakness and vulnerability, while family in the back is shaded, showing the importance and light of the image is where the men salute their father. The moral of the painting is based on the Roman legend about a dispute between Rome and Alba Longa and reflects on the importance of patriotism and self-sacrifice for one's country. Neoclassicism was seen as a morally correct way of representing humans, rather than Rococo being viewed as a sinful and immoral representation of human behavior. Not everyone found Rococo distasteful, however. Many aristocrats ignored the disapproval of monarchists' views of the art form and continued to seek commissions in the Rococo style. The controversy around Rococo was debated between those who appreciated the new art movement and critics who found many flaws in the style. Profound philosopher, critic, and writer Denis Diderot publicly disliked Rococo.
So, tell us a bit about your career.
So I'm a scientific theorist. I'm a big deal in the Enlightenment era. I contributed to the encyclopedia while being a co-founder and editor. A lot of people would describe me as profound and a progressive thinker.
So getting right into today's topic, tell us what you think about the Rococo style.
Seriously, I'm an astute critic. I only admire art that has the fundamentals of art, that displays a natural beauty in a sophisticated manner.
And you don't believe that Rococo displays these characteristics?
No. It's a frivolous form, which does not represent morality. I prefer noble art, some that represents classic fundamentals of a genuine piece.
Now we have a special guest, Jean-Honoré Fragonard, who is best known for his Rococo-style painting, The Swing.
Thank you so much for coming in to talk with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love small, normal people projects like this.
Moving on to your career, would you like to tell us about how Rococo really inspires you as an artist?
Well, the colors are so unlike classic work. I'll use the swing as an example. Notice how her dress is pink, is unlike the shade you've ever seen before, blended in with a white base, as well as the small blue of sky behind the trees, creating these pastel colors.
Are you aware that some other artists and critics do not support this style? If we're using the swing as an example, the story behind the piece is about a man and his mistress, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Many critics find this perspective provocative. Does that concern you?
No, this is the enlightened period, is it not? Why should we hide the reality of human nature only because it lacks morals? Human behavior is natural, morally correct or not.
A huge name in the neoclassic movement, Jacques-Louis David, who created The Oath of Horatii, Death of Socrates, and Crossing of St. Bernard Pass, has kindly offered to be interviewed today.
May I call you Jacques?
I guess.
Thank you for coming today. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the importance of neoclassical style in response to the Rococo movement. Tell us a bit about the importance of neoclassicism.
To me, at least, the most important aspect of neoclassicism is the historical relevance. All of my pieces represent some sort of historical accurate event, honoring the way of our people and the way it used to be.
Do you believe that Rococo has been a distasteful style to bring to the Enlightenment period?
Definitely. I'll compare my own Death of Socrates to Watteau's The Embarkation of Cythera. Looking at Watteau's work, those easily impressed will admire the pastel colors introduced from Rococo, but those who've been educated by genuine artists will instantly eye the careless and obvious brushstrokes, destroying the painting. I mean, I respect other artists of the community and whatnot, but something like this just can't actually be respected by genuine artists.
As you can see, Rococo was very controversial amongst artists of its time. Whether it was truly valuable during the Enlightenment era was in the eye of the beholder. Even if some did not support the style, it definitely fit into the progressive and new feel of the Enlightenment era, introducing different elements such as pastel palettes and less conventional inspirations. Thank you for watching.
Seriously?